Okay, so thank you everyone for attending here tonight. Hibiscus Lodge number 275 has the pleasure to be able to host tonight for you, Brother Sal, with a presentation that he will be introducing himself. I've had the pleasure of speaking to him a couple of times on Facebook, and we've been able to interact and have some very insightful conversations. So I'm very happy that he has decided to spend some time with us here tonight. So brother, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Daniel, and thank you all the brethren of this lodge for inviting me to allow me to speak to you all and to, gain light from this interaction. My name is Salman Sheikh. I hail from William Preston Lodge, number 766 in London under the United Grand Lodge of England. And I'm also affiliated with the Scottish Rite Valley of Philadelphia here in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and also their Royal Art Chapter number 183. So I want to give greetings and peace to all of you and yours, wherever you might be watching this from. The title of this presentation will be the teachings of Masonic brother Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was one of the greatest Masonic spiritual brothers that has existed in the world, with him being basically a patron saint in India, and how he had a love for humanity, to uplift fallen humanity, and to restore the interfaith dialogue, awareness, and that love and light we have for each other, which I believe in our world with current events is needed now more than ever, not just in the US or in other places, but in India and other places where humanity knows that we are all one family and we all have this love and desire to see our families happy and to see each other happy. And I recently, see that love is what we need more. We need more love and not fear. And I believe that this wonderful brother deserves the recognition that he deserves, Swami Vivekananda. And that's what inspired me to not just join you all here tonight, but to make this presentation. There's a lot of Masonic knowledge out there where this brother is, he's mentioned, but there's not too much information about him that's out there, so he's not mentioned that much. So I want to talk about his spiritual contributions, his teachings, his interactions with individuals like Nikola Tesla, and how he inspired him to convert Vedic energies into the 369. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Next slide, brother. All right, so Brother Swami Vivekananda, he was born on January 12th, 1863, and he passed to the Celestial Grand Lodge above on July 4th, 1902. He was born Narendra Dutta, which was his original name, and he was born into a aristocratic Bengali family in Calcutta. And later on in his life, he took the name of Swami Vivekananda. He hailed from Lodge Anchor and Hope under the Grand Lodge of India in Calcutta, India. He introduced the Vedic teachings and interfaith awareness to the West in India during I believe, the final phases of the British Raj. He started getting them more interested in Hinduism and Vedic teachings, and he revived those, spiritual lack of spirituality that the people had at that era and the end of the British Raj. And to get them out of that mindset of the colonialism, he told them to be proud of who they were and be thankful with the identity and status that the Creator had given to them, and not to feel low in our life, and know that you have the power to make a difference and to create a beautiful world, just like any other person that might have been here before you. And just like how, we all have our own individual journeys in Masonry, how we're all supposed to walk our own individual path. Even myself, I fell down and I got back up because, the strength is what defines us. He's been credited with finding the Ramakrishna mission as well, because that was, one of his teachers inspired us to, spread those teachings around of the Vedic and of Hinduism. His story basically made me relate him to, the Buddha Siddhartha Gautama of India as well, who also came from an aristocratic, wealthy background. But as time went on, he learned, he leaned towards the spiritual side because even as Masonry teaches us and other spiritual venues that we come across teach us that material wealth can only satisfy so much, but it cannot satisfy everything. So material, you cannot buy your way into anything. There are some things that you have to win with your heart because our heart and our love for each other is the greatest wealth we have. And that's what will help us move forward towards the future as well. That's what Swami Vivekananda, with his love, his tolerance for humanity, to uplift all in humanity, and his quest to revive the missions in India, and also in his travels to England and America to spread the Vedic principles of love and tolerance. And even myself, as a Sufi Muslim brother, I believe that today in our world of intolerance, we can learn from Swami Vivekananda and his Vedic teachings, and we can spread that love amongst one another where it's desperately needed, because we all owe this love and light to each other. And people spend their whole lives chasing after degrees, cars, homes, financial resources, not realizing that you don't have any guarantee that your eyes will open up tomorrow. And what you do today is what matters most, not what's going to happen in November, not what's going to happen in 2021, but what's going to happen today. And just be good with your family and know that you go to sleep tonight, you don't wake up, you can face the grand architect with a heart that's light as a feather. And that's what will, carry not just our brotherhood, but humanity forward. So next slide, brother. This is a newspaper clipping from India and describes how Swami Vivekananda also had a Masonic lodge named after him. And this was Swami Vivekananda Lodge number 367. It was constituted by Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of India, Captain Dr. Balram Bisavakumar, OSM, at Freemasons Hall. And the city, this lodge, was consecrated to honor him for the contributions he not just made to humanity, but to the field of Freemasonry as well, by uniting humanity. Because, in our lives, brethren, most people, modern days, they have a strange perception of Freemasonry. But Freemasonry is just love for yourself, love for your family, love for humanity, uplift all in humanity. And humanity, help your family take care of those who can't, and help those that cannot take care of themselves. And it's resistance against the wicked. And to create such a world where even if you're gone, your impact is long felt. And it's about what good can you do for yourself and others with the short time that the Almighty Creator has given all of us. It goes like this, what I touched on in the previous slide, that if, my eyes don't open up tomorrow and I face the grand architect in whatever way you perceive him, what will I tell him? That what good did I do for myself and others? Was I too worried about degrees, titles, wealth, and other things? So here we see Swami Vivekananda being honored, and his honor teaches us in his Masonic and Vedic teachings is that spend your life in service to others and loving others, because that's where the true victory is. And I believe whoever is a member of this lodge in India that's under his name, it is a true honor and privilege, as they have big shoes to fill, to carry on the memory of such a wonderful and exemplified brother who teaches us that we cannot let any agendas out there in today's world, especially in our modern world where we think that we're advanced and we have technology, we can reach people anywhere in the world, but spiritually, we're very backwards, where, we might live next to a family member on the next street, and we might have the technology, but we still don't make the effort to go see them and see how they're doing, and, call our parents or call our loved ones, but, we'll be ready to talk to somebody on the other side of the world right away. So connect with the people that are physically close to you first. And, the mindset of materialism and thinking of their own and not thinking of helping others, we fall into these traps of pride, my brethren, and thinking about, even the terms of masonry, let's just worry about increasing numbers, or I'm just going to worry about me or not worry about him. And, masonry, what we learn from Swami Vivekananda is that we must put our pride and our egos down because we're all, in this journey together. And, we have some brothers that fall into the competition of being in a competition with their brothers. It's like, I want to make sure that I get these honors and titles before him and move up the ranks. And I could go outside right now, my dear brethren, and get hit by a car right now. And what is that any of that going to do for me? The pride, the wealth, the titles. And that's what, my dear brother Narendra Datta, known as Swami Vivekananda, espoused in his teachings. And I tell the world that please listen to him and espouse values in your daily lives so you can keep his memory and mission alive. And just know that if, the thing is that, life is basically a big journey and we're basically in a guest house. And just like how a book, my brethren, it changes with chapters and different characters and stories. You have the seasons like that exist too, where now we're in fall, then it'll be winter, then it'll be spring. So in each climate, we are espoused to be in a different form of energy. So always wish well for the people that are in your life and the ones that are not in your life, because you're always where you're meant to be. Maybe their energy was required elsewhere and their purpose in life was required elsewhere. So always wish well for everyone and never wish bad for anyone just because you might not be in a friendship or relationship with them anymore. Always wish best for everyone because that's what the grand architect teaches us is that what you put in, that's what you get out. And that includes your intent in a world that's filled with so much chaos right now. Our intent of love and collectively, when we have that intent of love, my brethren, is what will uplift this world together. Next slide, please. Swami Vivekananda teaches us that the divine love and power of the universe and creator can be found in each and every one of us. And we're all on the level. No one is above one another or beneath one another. We're all equal under that cosmic energy of the grand architect of the universe. And all of these facts can be verified as if you look into the Vedic principles and the principles of the Bhagavad Gita and in these volumes of the sacred laws of the Holy Bible in the book of Luke, where it says the kingdom of heaven is within, in the Holy Quran, Surah 50, where it says that God is closer to us than our jugular vein. And each one of us has that love and quality within us. We all have these dogmas and all these different things that divide us as mankind. When we're ready to condemn one another, to different situations, and how everyone is, even within different faiths, everyone is divided. There's a lot of sectarian division. Everyone has their own way of interpreting how to get close to God. And no one wants to make the effort to sit down and get to know their fellow man, not knowing that he or she might have the same struggles and heartbreaks, love for humanity, love for their family, wishes for their family, just like you do. But we have the agents of chaos, as I call them, the agents of chaos and darkness that have infiltrated, all different things out there, including, religion, and they try to come in and try to divide people rather than, rather than unite them. So Swami Vivekananda teaches us that we're all loved, we all have that love within us, and we're all equal. And we're all beautiful no matter who you are and what you believe. No one is condemned to anything just because you don't believe what I believe. Those are the concepts of fear and control. And that's what got him invited, as you see in this picture here, my brethren, to go sitting with Nikola Tesla to the 1893 conference of world religions. Now, in Chicago, in the United States of America, and he was received so beautifully by the people of Chicago and the people that were there, and he was seen as the messenger of the Indian Vedic system and the traditions of the West. He was met with a round of applause when he got up and he addressed everyone as his brothers and sisters. Now, that's the reality. We all come from that one chain and we're all brothers and sisters. We're all one human family. And those that like to play, the crayon games over which color the person is, and the person is not there to create any unity, any person that causes disunity of any kind, they're the agents of chaos. And, we are the agents of light. Our job is to spread love and light everywhere. And Swami Vivekananda is teaching us to be mindful and to tell us that you don't need anyone to validate the divinity within you. It's all within. Even as, a lot of the Sufi sheikhs have taught me, in my own personal journey, you love one another, do good for one another. And that's just the best advice you can get for life. And also when he was at the conference, you see he met Nikola Tesla. Now this is not like often mentioned. If you look into Nikola Tesla stories about him and Swami Vivekananda like encounter each other. Now when they met, they immediately hit it off. Like they had, a beautiful chemistry when they met each other. They had a mutual interest. They had that mutual energy and comfort amongst one another as brothers. So they discussed the Vedic concepts of prana, akasha, and kalpas, the basic concepts of the Vedic doctrine, which also can be translated into energy. And as you look at the spiritual sounds of the universe, everything comes back to the Om or the OM or IAO. And in Percival, what he describes in Thinking in Destiny is the universal concepts of IAO, these, sounds that hold the universe together. So I know those are the synchronicity sounds of the universe, and prana, which is basically a breathing, can be translated into units of energy. Prana can be described in other ways as well to harness that concept that Tesla was trying to figure out about the 369. And Tesla and showed him that he was Swami Vivekananda showed him that he was mathematically capable of translating this force into his foundations and into his scientific works. So 369 is basically prana, akasha, and kalpas from the Vedic forms of energy and concepts. And there's a quote from Tesla, I believe also, which he describes as interactions. And he's basically echoing the words of a yogi without mentioning Vivekananda's name. So he says that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration, such as the Vedic traditions of prana, akasha, and kalpas, which Nikola Tesla, I believe with him interacting with Swami Vivekananda, he inspired that within him. And Tesla was able to make a difference in the world by being inspired by Vedic traditions. And Swami was inspired from him as he continued on with his own work to spread that energy amongst humanity, such as, he did with his missionary work and with his Ramakrishna Foundation in India and all the, different ways he was trying to make in the world. And even, Percival, validates all of this if you read his book, Thinking in Destiny, which was, hailed by many Masons on the spiritual path as a must-read book. So breathing, thinking, and destiny, and mastering the 369, which is basically the prana, akasha, and kalpas, are basically what helps you activate that divine force within, as a lot of people, say the kundalini or the third eye, or seeing, the universe or God in a different perception or way. And I found their interactions in Swami's travels to the United States very interesting, that him as a traveler and as a Mason, he never had a moment of rest to try to make a difference in the world. In his short life, I would just say that this energy that they share with each other about, the East and the West coming together shows that we must take light from wherever we can find it, whether it comes from the East or the West. Whether, and that's what inspired me to start my YouTube channel, because in a lot of the Masonic education we see today, the Eastern philosophers and a lot of the Eastern groups are not given enough credit. And we see that, we're all in this together. And we must be like that knight of the east and the west, as the Scottish Rite teaches us, to be able to look into both directions and learn not just from the east, but from the west. And that's the exemplification we can see from Tesla and Swami's relationship. Now I will move to the next slide. These are some of the quotes, brethren, that I would like to go over from Swami Vivekananda that I really like. And, the first one is being, if I love myself despite my infinite faults, how can I hate anyone at the glimpse of a few faults? And Swami is right, because in the path of self-improvement and uplifting the fallen state of mankind, we encounter those, no matter what path you follow, people like to point fingers at you, but not realizing that there's 10 pointing right back at you. And we must make the effort to look ourselves in the mirror and know that I'm not perfect as well. We're all here to chip away at our rough ashlar and to become the rough ashlar, and to become the smooth ashlar in our journeys as we chip away at all of our imperfections that have put us in this fallen state. And you have to put your pride to the side, put your ego to the side, and everyone that's in a race for titles, glory, appearance, not realizing that, if you really love yourself and that no one is perfect, how can you hate anyone else? And if you will, if you regard everyone as your brother and, brothers and sisters, you put yourself in their shoes as well, and try to see the world from their eyes. Because, even in the volume of the sacred law, the divinity always expresses itself as we. So it's never I, it's never me, it's we, because, that's you and I. We're an extension of that divinity experiencing this reality together, and, walking each other back to that source. It's like, a lot of the Sufi traditions, which I hail from, they tell you you have a mineral that goes to a plant will go to an animal goes to man goes to angel, and angel goes back to God. Because to him we belong, and to him we shall return. And that's that source. We all come from that same source. So either you choose to be a part of chaos, or you choose to be a part of source. And that will determine how your path and scenario and the things that you're meant to experience will play out, because you are given that free will in life. And, that's we must use that free will for the cause of light and for the cause of love. Next slide. And I would like to talk about this quote, where he says that in a day, when you don't come across any problems, you can be sure that you are traveling on a wrong path. Now, Brother Mustafa will like this, because the Sufi sheikh that I follow from Senegal, Sheikh Ibrahim, he teaches us that in your life, the harder the better. So if you're not facing any challenge or difficulty in your life, whether it's masonry or other spiritual paths that you have chosen to follow, just know that that path is not helping you improve yourself or to get closer to, the divine in whatever way you perceive the grand architect. So it's always the harder the better. And this world is a guest house, and chapters and stories change, and our presence is always required wherever we're meant to be. People always say, hey, what's my purpose? And I tell them that, your purpose is always, the thing is, your purpose is always what you're meant to be doing at whatever place that you're in. And you have to do what's right for you, and not just for your soul, but all those people that are counting on you. And that's why even in a lodge room, all the brethren, it's basically a team. You all have to guide each other and walk each other, and to build that foundation and that fellowship, which not only helps you see the light and see the world in a different way, but to teach you that, in life, that you will never be alone, no matter what. Life will continue, and you will exist in some kind of energetic way in all the ways possible. Next slide. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite ones. where Swami Vivekananda says that never say no, never say I cannot, for you are infinite. All the power is within you. You can do anything. And the beauty is that you have God sitting in the temple of every human body. The moment you stand in reverence before every human being and see that creator in him, you are basically free from any bondage. You are. And the thing is that you must continue to see that if what exists in me exists in someone else, then how can I hate him or her? Or how can I hate my brothers? Or how can I hate if I put myself in a competition with him, thinking that I need to become worshipful master before him, or I need to get this honorary degree in Scottish Rite before him? It's about love. Love is always the answer. And when we're growing up, we're told what to believe. We go to the schools, we get put through the school system. We're told how to see the world in a different way, and we go through the workforce. We go through life, with having our own families and starting the cycle over again with our kids, not realizing how short this time really is. And were you put here to, just do that alone, or were you put here to basically become better and to know better and to think better in your perception of returning to that source? Because most people, they're always worried about, I want to get rich or I want to get famous. But I tell them, you and that famous person came out the same way from your mother. And when it's time for us to go back, we're all going to go back the same way. We came with nothing, we're going to leave with nothing. Only thing you're going to take with you is what good did you do for yourself and others. And that's the most beautiful thing, my brethren, is that we must not lose our focus of who we are as light workers and as Masons in our quest to, uplift our communities. And everything starts at the individual level. And everyone, is waiting for someone to come, help them or come save them. But, the divine architect in all volume of sacred law tells you that, I cannot help you until you help yourself. So basically, we all have to collectively not just help ourselves, but help each other, help our lodges grow, help our communities grow, help our families grow, help our brothers and sisters. Anyone, all the changes start at the local level. And once we can do that, it's an umbrella of the light that we can spread all across this world, where I'm not better than anyone else. Nobody has to walk in front of me or walk behind me. Walk beside me and share this umbrella of the light as we move forward towards the post 2020 world, where we will be spiritually challenged in many ways, as things have shown us. So we must always circumscribe our desires, live within due bounds, and not lose our focus about who we are and what we stand for. It's like when I had the chance to visit Pakistan and see a lot of the Sufi sheikhs, I prayed with them. I said, the elders, please give me the strength to reform the Masonic Brotherhood within my lifetime. And by reformation, I I see a more unity approach where we're not divided over petty issues like race recognition. We realize that what exists in me exists in you. What heartbreaks and wishes I have for my family, you possess the same for you. So we must, that's the reformation that we seek, is that to come towards a more unity approach. Next slide. Here we see that Swami Vivekananda says that face the brutes, that is a lesson for all life. Face the terrible, face it boldly. Like the monkeys, the hardships of life fall back when we cease to flee before them. Now, Swami Vivekananda, is teaching us to basically stand in our quest for love and light and speak the truth no matter what. We get in a position where, we often want to look the other way, or we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. And we see that, okay, if I can, not do this or not face this, then maybe things will get better for me. But, we have to take a more, lenient approach in how we deal with these things. And, we must continue, to love one another, no matter what, and no matter what kind of divisions my brethren try to divide us in our lifetime. And, I would say that even in this picture where Swami Vivekananda is posing, I believe it was at the 1893 Chicago conference, just where he had met Nikola Tesla. And on the right side of the picture is his signature. And on the left side, the quote reads, "One infinite pure, holy and beyond thought, beyond qualities, I bow down to thee." And this is the Swami saying that in respect to the Vedic doctrines of prana, akasha, and kalpas, the 369 of Tesla, is that love and light and that divinity, that pure light of love exists within each and every one of us. And when you come to that realization, you go outside and you face the world. It's like you have true freedom in your heart, brethren, and it can be felt in your voice and in your eyes. It's those who come across, that you're here to do what's right for your fellow man. And in the short time that, this life has given us, the quote, basically says, to face the brutes. This is a lesson for life, to, face that, to face all of those things, to, resist the wicked, stand up for the weak, defend those that cannot defend themselves, and stand up against those who hide behind philosophical and religious and spiritual organizations preying on humanity, and they don't do nothing for their fellow man, but only serve their own interests. We must be willing to call out their behaviors and tell them that you have to practice what you preach. You must practice what you preach, and those that look the other way, there's a spiritual price to pay for everything, because we will always be held accountable. No one gets away with anything. And I pray, my brethren, that not just you, but everyone that listens to the words of Swami Vivekananda and his teachings, their daily lives, in terms of making sure that while you carry that infinite love and light within you, and all that that carries you forward. And on the other hand, make sure you carry the sword as well when it's time to cut down the wicked, just like how you see the American eagle, where one hand is the olive branch and on the other hand are the arrows. We must be willing to live in that duality, just like the Scottish Rite double-headed eagle, to make sure that we represent all the things that can be represented at any given time, because that's the light and darkness, and we must blend and become one within our lives. We must walk that middle path, because one cannot exist without the other. And even if you see in the third Matrix movie, in the end, where the only way that Neo could defeat the darkness is when he had let the darkness infuse his physical vessel inside of him, and they were all connected to the singularity machine, which was the source. So when we, honor that light and darkness within our own self, because the true master will always battle with himself. And a lot of the Sufi sheikhs have taught me is that, Sal, your greatest enemy is your own self. You have to battle your thoughts, your ego. You have to battle when to react, when not to react, when to say something and when not to say something. And when you can perfect that and find that divinity within you to connect with the, supreme being, and to know that, hey, that brother that you see across from you, eliminate all the hate from your heart, that or any envy you might have, because he's experiencing this journey and is connected to the same source just like you. And that will just, that really changes the way you look at things and how you view the world when you realize that. Next slide. So here it's, we see that the Swami is teaching us is that God is within, and that it's impossible to find God outside of ourselves. You are the greatest temple. And I would like to, repeat, even in the volumes of the Sacred Law, in the book of Luke in the Holy Bible, Kingdom of Heaven is within. Surah 50 of the Holy Quran is that Almighty God is closer to us than our jugular vein. He's teaching us that the divinity is within you. And, the systems of control always told you that you need this person to represent you, or you need someone to validate that you're walking on the holy path. You have to feel that within your heart, not just with, that point of view, but from the Masonic and spiritual point of view. if we carry all that divinity and that force of prana, akasha, and kalpas within us, and that breath form, that life force energy, the breath form that unites us all, is that breathing and our thinking, knowing, and love for one another. And this invalidates all those who hide behind systems of control, telling people who fear one another or they're condemning each other based on their own interpretations of a text or a way of life which was, written before they were even conceived. So this is to show you that, if true love is the answer, why aren't the, people in charge espousing any of that to make us come together and to make us united and to make us stronger? Because, then that eliminates their control when we all come together. And that's what I tell people, is that if there's any kind of abuse happening in any way, shape, or form, our Masonic brother, Swami Vivekananda teaches us is that whether it's spiritual or religious or any other way, that's not the path of God. If you're being told to condemn or hurt others, that's not the path of God, spirituality, masonry, or anything that brings you closer to the divine. The path of God is to recognize that divinity within you, within others, and to show them, my brother, that, same respect and love for one another, and not to look down upon anybody or have a nasty, intention for them. Because remember, intent is the most powerful weapon you have. You can choose to either be with source or chaos based on what, you've been programmed to believe. We are better than that, and that's what all these volumes of sacred law, teaches us. And the oneness in everything, that's the most beautiful thing about masonry, my brothers, is that, when I, make my videos and I try to connect masonry to this path or this path, it's basically all the same teachings. And we see that there's a oneness in everything. And, how even in Sufism, just like how, the Masons are looking for the lost names, even in Sufism, we have the 99 names of God, and each attribute, we must honor that to ourselves. And one of the names is Ahad. And, Ahad meaning one, that everything is one. Me, you, whether I'm a Muslim and the person is Jewish and the, other brother is Christian, there's no difference between me and him. The love that I have for him and his family and his kids, what the love that he has for me and my parents and my kids and my family, it's all one, and it's all part of that same source. And that oneness is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion. And if you really take the time to, practice all of that, we must be able to respect even the Vedic doctrines as part of, Swami's teachings as his volume of sacred law, which has existed for, many, many years. We must be able to learn from everything. I remember when I first immigrated to America at the age of 5, and I grew up with, kids from all backgrounds. And when I was in elementary school, I used to go to the mosque to read the Quran. Then I used to attend Bible class the same day. And then the same day, once I was done with all of that, then I would go attend the Sikh temple, because they had a Sikh temple right next to where I lived too. And I would see that, everyone is teaching the same thing. Everyone is teaching that oneness. Hey, they're nice to each other. They're giving out food. They're talking about love, God, and, being good to your neighbor. And being good to your neighbor doesn't mean just the people that live on your street or your town. All of humanity are your neighbors. And, all of the land is your land. And, when they say that Almighty, God has the, the world in the palm of his hands, it shows you, even from the Masonic point of view, how small this journey really is, where even, to the most secluded areas of Pakistan, when I had to go visit the Sufi shrines where you could barely get a cell phone signal, but I always had someone coming up to me and offering me their help and showing me that, Sal, wherever your life's journey takes you, we will always be by your side and you will never be alone. And that's the beauty of Masonry. And I try to teach the brethren in America, in the West, that Masonry is not just worldly, but it's universal. It expands way beyond, the perception of what you experience in the lodge. So we must be willing to open our mind as much as possible, even if you don't agree with, somebody, but still have, it's like, in my childhood, I was able to go to these different places and, just make the effort to learn from one another, because We do owe that love and light to each other. Next slide. This one made me smile because in the modern world, it's you can get all the degrees in the world, you can read all the books and pass all the exams, but if you do not experience, if you don't have that experience of life within you, because experience is the best teacher that you can have in your life. No one is going to hire you or trust you with their word, which goes, with the quote of our brother Swami Vivekananda, is that knowledge can only be got in one way, the way of experience. There's no other way to know. I can relate to that certainly in my travels to the East, is that you can read all the books, watch all the movies on certain countries and peoples, but if you do not go personally and travel to those places and get to experience their love and hospitality, then you will never know, because a lot of the stuff you read or you get taught, by systems of control, it basically teaches you to have a certain viewpoint about other people. And that's why even in the Scottish Rite, when you're taught to be a knight of the East and the West, a double-headed eagle, looking in both directions, and as a traveling man, that you must be able to go from the East, to the West, and the West back to the East, and apply the best of all of those worlds as you become whole and, a part of that oneness and source energy. And if you don't make the effort to go out and see the world for yourself, my brethren, then you let somebody else who wrote that book or, made that movie shape your opinion and thoughts for you about other people. And, why not just traveling or getting to experience other people to break up those perceptions? But anything in life, anything you want to do, you just got to do it. You can watch anything, or you could read the books, or anything else that might come in the form of an education about a certain place or thing. But unless you put yourself in those shoes, you won't be able to hone up your skills in our path of self-improvement and chipping away at our rough ashlar to become the perfect ashlar. And what, no matter what field or profession you follow, our brother Swami Vivekananda is teaching us is that experience is the best teacher. Anytime you get a chance, travel in your life. Travel as much as you can and get to know people and realize that they're just like you. They all have the same hopes and dreams for their families, trying to pay their bills, send their kids to school, take care of their bills. All of this world, we're all in that same routine. And we must come to the path of unity as much as possible. Next slide. Now, this was a picture from one of Swami Vivekananda's book. And this is something that is often not talked about in a lot of esoteric circles. And it's something very, very powerful, even in terms of, Masonry. Because as a yogi and as a mystic, he practiced celibacy too, which, in the Vedic traditions, they call him the brahmacharya, which in the West we know now as the no-fap movement, or being celibate. But the yogis of India and ancient Hindustan who practice the Vedic doctrines have practiced this for thousands of years. Now, this says that lust, wastage of semen brings nervous weakness, exhaustion, and premature death. The sexual act destroys vigor of mind, body, and it annihilates memory, understanding, and the intellect. Semen is a dynamic force. It should be converted, into the ojas, or the spiritual energy, by pure thoughts, japa and meditation. And the thing is that with japa, those who are very eager to have God realization should have observed this act sometimes in their life. Now, I made a whole extensive video on this subject called No.275, and that was like one of the first Masonic education videos I did. Now, this is a teaching from our Masonic brother, Swami Vivekananda. I know that many might not agree with this, but I think it was still justice, to cover this part of his teaching as well. And, I hope everyone understands, what I'm trying to teach from this part of his teaching. So this basically states that when we are taught to circumscribe our desires and live within due bounds, there's a reason why we have that apron. and that covers up that root chakra of our area, our temple, because our temple is an expression of the divine, and your rough ashlar is what you sculpted it to be to become the perfect ashlar. When you wear that apron, you're basically guarding the entrance to that root chakra, and that root chakra is the key to your temple. If you deplete that energy of the temple, and the foundation of your temple is weak, then your temple will crumble. But if you do preserve that energy, there is a sacred oil that gets produced in the root chakra, which then goes up your 33 vertebrae spine into your crown. And that's when your kundalini and third eye and you basically having that perception of the world in a different way start to get activated. And, your relationships get better and your senses are more stronger and your energy is much more pure and holier than what you get to perceive in a world that you probably didn't feel before. And that's why you see that those in sports are encouraged not to waste their, life force energy, or there are priests or people in high illuminated positions where even when they do have, intercourse, they do not release the life force energy. So your semen is your life force energy. And, unfortunately, with easy access to everything these days, we're, losing the power, and creating a weaker society. And that's what has been created, where we don't look at women the same way that we used to. There are some women who don't look at men the same way that they used to, with that pure love and, honest intent and energy. We're all, looking about having, I guess, a sense of perverted intercourse or perverted thoughts about one another, and that energy of pure love is not there anymore. Our Masonic brother, Swami Vivekananda, from the Eastern Vedic teachings, is teaching us, is not just with, this text from one of his books, but in his overall teachings, is that we should transmute those energies, just like how we sculpt away at our rough ashlar. We should transmute the energies within our spiritual temple as well, from the, from our root chakra to the crown, into our spine, and to strengthen ourselves. And you see the pharaohs in ancient Egypt, they have the snake coming out of their head in, a lot of the crowns that they wear. And why? Because that kundalini energy is like a serpent from your bottom up. When it coils up, it's like a serpent. The serpent wisdom extends from your third eye and chakra crown. And, just like how you have a serpent that sheds its skin to get better, we are in that same position too, in our physical extensions that the divine has placed us here, on this world as. But if you, transmute that energy from the bottom of the temple all the way up to the foundation, you will become a very powerful being. But if your foundation is weak, then the rest of you will crumble. Now, this is the type of knowledge that, many would find controversial, or many will not cover, even in, some esoteric circles, like I said. So there's a reason why you wear that apron. It's because you circumscribe your desires and live within due bounds, and you guard the main entrance to your temple, and that energy and that labor of that work, once it's preserved, then honored and honed, it will go up and nourish the rest of your temple all the way to your crown, which then helps you basically, that crown and your head is basically your keystone, which helps you rebuild your body and to rebuild your soul. And, again, you have to make that intent. Everything is about intent. And you can reverse that fallen state where you have been put into ascend and become one with the celestial grand lodge above. And, my brethren, I had such a beautiful dream, it was a few weeks ago, where I was standing at this beautiful place. It was full of, white light, and it had these beautiful columns of all different kinds. And it was so much love and light there. And when I was walking around, there was a square and compass with wings on it that was flying around me. And I found that so fascinating. And I had even discussed this with a few of my brothers, that, basically I had a dream about being at the Celestial Grand Lodge, where I was in a place where there was so much love and unity. I saw the symbols of the square and compass, like with wings on it. And, it shows you, once you get to a certain point of view in your perception, that the sacred knowledge and important knowledge that our Masonic brother Swami Vivekananda is teaching us, is that it's forgotten by a lot of today's Masonic and, spiritual world. Next slide, please. This is the last quote slide that I was going to cover by the Swami. So last but not least is, Swami Vivekananda teaches us is that please everybody without becoming a hypocrite and a coward. Hold on to your own ideal with strength and purity and whatever obstructions may now be in your way. The world is bound to listen to you in the long run. Now, this was sent to me, by a beloved brother in India, a Masonic brother. This relates to my path as well because me personally, whether it was in the world of Freemasonry or my spiritual path or my life, my family, anywhere where my life has taken me from a child all the way up to now, where at age 28 currently, I never backed down from any challenge or anybody who I believed was not practicing what they were preaching, because you have to stand on your square and to hold on to your truth, because a lot of people try to fight hard to preserve all their possessions and all of their titles, but you must realize is that anywhere where you see any injustice happening of any kind, you honor that, because those good deeds, including your health and your heart, will be the greatest wealth that you carry. You see people that have millions and billions of dollars or big status in life, but a lot of them are not happy spiritually. They are not happy, and a lot of them are not in good health. So if you don't have that happiness and health within yourself, then you're basically not rich at all. And that's what in our Masonic journey, for those who go through all of the necessary process, you see that materialism really doesn't save you from anything. It's about your heart and what you carry in your heart as you interpret your own journeys and everything that you guys, my brethren, went through in your own way. And if somebody was, good to me, they were honoring me and they stood by me, I would give my life for them. But those who I believed had a nefarious agenda, or those who didn't practice what they preach, or those who looked the other way and found it easier to give someone the silent treatment, or say things like, oh, just ignore the problem, he or she will go away. Those are the ones who my spiritual battle is against, not just to help mankind, but to reform our beloved Masonic Brotherhood, as I promised the sheikhs of the West, of the East as well. So I will please everyone, I will love everyone, I will serve everyone no matter what, even beyond my capability, as what Masonry teaches us as well, without falling on the path of hypocrisy or becoming a coward. And you hold on to your ideals, because a man's word is all that he has. And if you have your word, then you have everything. Because if those that might try to stand in your path and they take everything from you, the law of the universe and karma work in such a way where I personally myself have transcended all of the naysayers. And you look back and you see that, hey, that was just a part of my Masonic journey, where I was someone that had left and came back to the Brotherhood. Because once I had left and came back, I realized how powerful this thing really was. And it extended, and its power extended way beyond the lodge room, even to the most secluded villages of Pakistan where I was, where you could barely get a cell phone signal. And I realized how powerful this was. And those who haven't, came to that realization, how they're only taking it very lightly. And it's what inspired me to, continue this path, or to make my channel, or to sit down with others and talk with others, because we must, be willing to make that effort. Because, if we all love one another and to resist all of these elements of darkness wherever we see it, and we start these changes at a local level, then side by side, as we walk side by side, through months, through days, through weeks, through years, through centuries, we can build a beautiful, beautiful world together, not just for ourselves, but our neighbors, our families, our children, who are growing up in a dystopian transhumanist society where everything is, behind a screen now. There's, the human interaction is getting less and less. So we must teach people is that see that love within others. Don't fear them. Put the phone down and have a nice, meaningful conversation with someone and try to learn from them. And, as we focus on climbing higher on the mountain, as we see All of the great masters and Masonic brethren who have preceded us have all went to the mountaintop, just like on the back of the dollar bill. The light illuminating from the grand architect is illuminating from the mountaintop. We must make the effort, my brethren, as our Masonic brother Swami Vivekananda teaches us, is that we must climb and reach the mountaintop in our path to rebuild our temple. And the rough ashlar to make it perfect in our quest to uplift ourselves and uplift the fallen state of humanity. You always be good to yourself, be good to others, love everyone, but don't be a coward. When you see something wrong happening, don't pull out your phone and start recording it or look the other way, because the unseen forces have seen you take that action, whether you thought somebody watched you or not. And that exemplar of being a true master mason or a true spiritual path or whatever religion or philosophy or mystic path that you walk on teaches us that you got to do what's right. Always for this life, life is only a dream. And what good is a dream if you didn't choose to honor the path of love and divinity and to stand up for your fellow man and for your brothers? And, that's basically, the gist of and the basic spiritual and esoteric teachings of Swami Vivekananda, brethren. If you, have any questions for me, well, please let me know.
Thank you, brother, so much. I actually have two questions. One is going back to the um, I guess meeting between Nikola Tesla and Swami Vivekananda.
Yeah.
Do you know if Swami at any point maybe invited him to visit a lodge, or if they met up afterwards and they kept a connection? I don't know if there's any information on that.
I've talked to a few brothers in India about this and what they've heard, like in the circles of the Grand Lodge of India. Like, you know how like you have certain tales that get passed down, like legends from like one lodge to another or like one year to another. It's the same thing where it's not really recorded in let's say modern history, but there was known that Swami and Nikola Tesla had some more interactions with each other outside of the Conference of World Religions in Chicago, where he kept enforcing his idea of the 369 and translating the Vedic energies of the prana, akasha, and kalpas. Because if you go to a lot of the Arabic circles in the Middle East, they will tell you about a lot of the brotherly interactions that happened between Saladin and Richard the Lionheart. But in a history book, you would never find that. So, the perception of Masonry, worshipful brother, is that, those who know. Those who are the profane, they can't look it up in a history book and, verify it. So that's the beauty of it.
And then I guess another question would be if you know if Brother Swami Vivekananda was a member of any other appendant body at the time.
I believe he was only a part of Lodge Anchor and Hope in Calcutta, India, which I believe at the time was part of uh, Grand Lodge of India, but now it's a district Grand Lodge of the Bengal, which is now under UGLE. So his own jurisdiction has went through some changes, but the only recorded membership he has is with Lodge Anchor and Hope under the Grand Lodge of India.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to enjoy my journey with all of you great brothers. And I hope in my life I get a chance to come down to Florida to enjoy the sunny weather and to enjoy your company in person.
Brother, this is not more of a question, but I do want to thank you. This is a great message that you're spreading out, and something that in this time of that we're going through is something that definitely we should definitely spread out a little bit more. So I do want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Brother Christopher. And, I want to thank worshipful brother, Daniel Molina. He's always been supporting me. And, even with my own YouTube channel, which I'm up to 54 videos now on different Masonic education topics. And he's always supported me since day one. And I'm very grateful to him because when you have, past masters and worshipful brothers that are there to uplift everyone, because it's our elders who carry us. And if they're, helping us walk that path, then we can pass that on to the brothers that come after us, because it's a give and take. And I'm honored for, to be in this company amongst all of you. So thank you, Brother Christopher.
And once again, thank you, brother, so much. We really appreciate you spending some time with us here tonight. I've been a big fan of your YouTube page, and I've shared videos with the brothers of the lodge to go check you out. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And if there are no other questions, then that'll be it.
Yep. I'll move on to the last slide. So yeah, thank you for watching. And like I say on the bottom, life is beautiful. Life is short, but it's also beautiful.